So, let's get down to business to defeat the Daleks. Did they send me accountants when I asked for doctors? So, I want to get us started on the Doctor Who Solitaire story game, and I want to show you how to get involved in it right away. And I think the best way to do that is to give you a demo of a little playthrough. Now, there are two implementations of the Solitaire story game. There's a PDF version, which you print out and you flip through the books to refer to certain numbered paragraphs, which is a bit tedious, or you can use the Wiki, which is maintained on a nearly weekly basis with new adventures appearing every so often. So I recommend the Wiki way over using the PDF. So we are going to engage with the Wiki. The traditional way of starting your very first game in the Doctor Who universe is to roll your own Doctor. I find that this tends to lead to early Doctor death, which can put you off the game pretty easily. You don't know at the first onset of things exactly what brains, brawn, and bravery will get you. You might try to make a combat-heavy Doctor, but as you'll see, as you will see if you try that, you are probably not going to defeat many enemies that way. Now, there are also these various traits like, thief, the ability to hide and follow your enemies back to their lairs without getting captured. There's things like engineering or history, which allow you to do different kinds of research to figure out what your enemy is trying to do. As you can tell, this is all about the standard Doctor Who episode structure, which is basically Doctor Who lands in a location, there's an enemy doing nefarious things, Doctor Who takes care of the enemy, hopefully, and that's the story. And that is actually a pretty good framework. It covers pretty much every episode of Doctor Who that's ever happened. And while that might seem limiting in some way, in a way it just adds a sort of skeleton that you can build upon. And that makes a game much more feasible than if it was completely open-ended, which we would call an RPG and you would need an actual game master to run. However, let's go forwards with the actual story game. Now, like I said, rolling your own Doctor leads to early Doctor death. So what we want to do is, because the core books, the 4 core books, cover the adventures of the 9th Doctor, we'll probably want to start with the 9th Doctor characteristics. I will give a link in the description of this video pointing to a PDF full of character cards for the Doctors. Now, this character card shows a very nice portrait of the 9th Doctor and his stats, which this is not a stats heavy game. This is a game primarily about the story, which is, I find, a very enjoyable change from things like the GURPS system, for instance. So, brains and brawn and bravery. Brains are basically how good you are at being able to figure out what the enemy is doing and basically trick the enemy, talk them down, stuff like that. Very important to actually solving enemy problems, or problems that the enemy is causing, rather. Then there's brawn, which is how well you do in combat. There's bravery, which basically means, do you run away when you encounter situations, or do you stand up to the enemy and say, hey, I'm going to confront you right now, right here, and we are going to do this. This is, you might think, oh, I want to have high numbers in all of them. Well, you can't have high numbers in all of them. You have to have a bit of give and take. As you can see, brains 12, brawn 6, bravery 8. What does that mean? You will see that the brawn is actually fairly middling for the doctors. Bravery 8 is somewhat strong. Brains 12 is pretty strong, but that's standard for the doctors. If we scroll up and see like the 8th doctor, the 6th doctor, even the 5th doctor, the 3rd doctor, the 2nd doctor, you start to see a sort of trend where brains are important. And if you have a brains of 10, you will fail a lot of adventures. That extra digit adds a lot to your survivability, which is the main mistake that people make. The other mistake that people make is what traits they have. Like, for instance, you may forget to have running. And that's a bad thing because unless you have very heavy bronze, like 8 or above, you are going to be doing a lot of running in order to survive. As well as other characteristics, important ones include aware, tracking, history, and charisma if you want to keep companions around, but we'll cover that later on. These characteristics below are called abilities. Those are an advanced expansion which we will not cover in this playthrough. So let's start with the adventures of the Ninth Doctor using his recommended stats. Now, what you want to do is have a character sheet, either a PDF that you can annotate, or a print out the PDF and write down the things on your own with old-fashioned pencil and paper. He doesn't have any wounds yet, and we'll cover luck points pretty soon. Luck points allow you to do a single reroll of a die roll, and you can only reroll once and then you have to accept the second result, but this can be really important for survival. So let's start our adventure. Starting our adventure with the Ninth Doctor is simple. You go to the core booklets and you go to the first one, the rules booklet. To start the game, go to the adventure prologue A400. So that's exactly what we'll do. Evil events have overtaken the universe, the Time Lords, and blah 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 blah. You can read that, but basically this is the story that we all know. The Time War has happened, and the Ninth Doctor has regenerated, and he is now sort of this angry on the inside person who is trying to heal, and so on and so forth. Whether that comes out in the story you play in your head or the mechanics of the game, it's actually pretty interesting, especially when you start using abilities, which we unfortunately will not cover, as I said. Now, that's the other thing about this. It's not a completely magical way of creating your own adventures. You have to inject some imagination, but fortunately, it provides a pretty good skeleton for doing that. Roll 1d6. As you can see, there are these convenient dice on the left, and they stay with you as you scroll through the page, so that's pretty useful. So we roll 1d6. Oh, oops. And we get a 3. So now We go here, and 3 to 4 is E183. And we've got the sonic screwdriver. This gives you +1 brawn when fighting against a machine, the engineering trait, and +2 to escape or rescue rolls. Now, if you already have engineering, this gives you a second copy of the engineering trait, which gives you a better bonus in certain situations, like researching what the enemy is doing, trying to solve some machine that has trapped you, or other fun things like that. So, let's keep this as a reference so that we know what it does. And let's go back to the prologue. As you can see, there's a sort of breadcrumbs thing here. That's pretty useful for going back and forth through your playthrough. Now, we've got our stuff. Now, we want to figure out where we're going to go. You watch as a loud, wheezing, groaning sound suddenly fills the air as the TARDIS starts to materialize. As the sound dies away, you check the controls of the TARDIS to see where you are. Roll 1d6. So we've got a 6. A443, and as you can see, we just click the link. And let us go ahead and do that. We've landed on Earth in 1930, the modern era. So you have landed in New York at the start of the Great Depression and close to the Statue of Liberty. The newly constructed Empire State Building towers over the city as the rich are entertained in theaters and restaurants, whilst men and women in Hooverville try to scratch out a meager existence. It's the dawn of a new day, but the sunlight is weak and insipid. So, actions. There are certain actions that you will take, and basically, you will take an action, you'll resolve the action, and then you'll have an encounter, and you'll resolve the encounter. That's one turn. Your next turn is action, encounter. Next turn is action, encounter. For 12 turns, so that's how long you have to solve whatever is going on. Don't worry, that's going to actually, well, it'll happen, or you'll die and possibly regenerate. That's the good thing about being a Time Lord, or Time Lady, or Time something. So let's go ahead and start. Alright, actions and adventures. One of the first things you can do at a holiday location or a location that lets you relax is to relax. This boosts your luck points. Oh, by the way, we start 4 luck points. Relax. If you can, we are able to relax, but at -2 to the roll. Let us see what relax does. So let us relax. Okay. First thing we should do is consult the encounter matrix. Now, turn 0. We are at turn 0. That means when the doctor is landing and opens the doors for the first time. Now, event 8+ means that if you roll 2d6 and you get this number, or greater, then you actually have to roll a d6 and resolve one of these things. As you can see, as the turns progress, more and more events start to have you encounter the enemy, which is always fun. Now, let's go here and determine what happened when we landed the blue box. A 1. So, actually, that needed to be a 2d6. So, let's roll the 2d6. 2! Snake eyes! So nothing happens. So let's choose our very first, what we're going to do for our first turn. And so we don't have any companions, we don't have any allies. Scaling is something special we won't talk about. So let's go ahead with turn 1. So we choose to relax because the adventure mentions relaxing, even if it's -2 to the roll. Now relaxing will, as I said before, will get us luck points, which, or lose us luck points, or, this might suck actually. But we're gonna do it anyways because the Ninth Doctor decides that he needs to do something to relax, even if this is Depression era Earth in New York. Let's get to it. Roll. So we want to roll 2d6. We get a 5, but it's -2 to the roll, so it's 3 to 4. We become bored and we cannot choose this action again. That's disappointing. So, what is our encounter, if we have one at all? Encounter matrix. So we've got turns 1 to 4 on a 7 plus. We get an encounter. So we rolled an 8. So we get an encounter. Lucky us. I want to record that. And the d6 roll is a 4. So we go here and we're like 4 is a character encounter. Character. So when you have a character encounter, you go back to the location, the adventure will probably have locations occurring later on. And there are special rules here. So your first character event will automatically be E110. So let's open that in a new tab. We encountered Tallulah, a feisty but dizzy blonde showgirl. She has brains 4, brawn 4, bravery 6. Don't be concerned about the brains of your human allies being in the single digits. The reason you have double digits is because you are a Time Lord and you're very old and you have all of this experience. Also, you are a Time Lord and just basically are more awesome than humans are. Okay, so, and she's got all these traits. We won't cover personalities because that's like abilities, that's more advanced. So, see, she's running, she's a screamer. Unfortunately, not all the women are screamers, some of the men are screamers. It's cute that way. So she's got music, charisma, aware. Aware is good. Aware lets you be more aware of your environment, and that is a good thing. Okay, Tallulah joins you as an ally, although you may make a companion charisma 11 roll. We will cover rolling against your traits. So, charisma 11 means that you need to make a roll of 11 or better after adding the number of charisma traits that you have. Do we have charisma? Hello, character sheet. Have we charisma? We've got 1 charisma. So let's do a roll d6 and hope for the best. Nope, no dice. She is now an ally. So she becomes an ally. Let's mark down her stats. No wounds yet. Now we're going to demonstrate the second way of rolling. So that was rolling against a trait. This now is rolling against a stat. The way that you make your stats roll is to roll under your stat. If you have a +1 bonus, you add it to your stat, and you hope that you roll under it. So for instance, she's brains 4 with a +1 bonus. We're trying to roll under brains 5 with 2d6. If she succeeds, roll for a plot. If she succeeds, roll for a plot event. There's no enemy here, so let's go ahead and see if she knows anything. Come on! She doesn't know anything. So let's go ahead and continue on our adventure. So that is our character event. So that was turn 1. Not terribly impressive, but we met somebody, so that's good. We need to choose another action. And it can't be relax, unfortunately. So no more gathering luck points for us. So, we've got no enemies to defeat, we're not captured. Exploring can happen when you don't know what's going on. Okay, this action may only be chosen if you've not had an enemy event. Will generally be the default action when you start an adventure, unless you can relax. I generally recommend relaxing first. It's good for your health. So, let's go exploring. Explore. So we roll 2d6. Okay, roll 2d6 and add +1 max 3 for each tracking. If you roll natural doubles, and your group becomes randomly split afterwards. Tracking. When it says for each tracking, that means for each tracking in the group. Now, unfortunately, Tallulah doesn't have tracking, but the 9th Doctor has tracking, so we've got a +1 to our exploring roll. So let's roll 2d6. Yeah, that was not a good roll. That was not a good roll at all. If we become hopelessly lost, let's not do that. Even though I hate doing this, let us use one of our luck points. So that brings us down to 3, and we need to re-roll this, and we need to accept the second roll. 7 plus 1 is 8. So we meet someone. Roll for a character event. So this is actually still part of the action. We've not started our encounter yet. So character event, what we do for a character event is, as we did before, we'll go back to the adventure spot, and this time we already met Tallulah in the special, and so we're going to roll on this line for the character and use a d6. That will give us our random encounter. Roll d6, and we rolled a 5, so that takes us to E244. We meet a businessman. Whether he is reputable or dishonest remains to be seen. Brain 6, Brawn 5, Brave 5, bureaucrat, charisma, gloating thief. Yay. You may ignore him or talk to him. So roll. 7 plus 1 is 8. He may have useful information that will help you. If he makes a brains roll, then roll for a plot event. He's got brain 6, so we need to roll under 6. Yeah, that may not happen, but it's good to try. Okay, rolling. Bloop. He doesn't know anything. Oh well. Now we have our encounter. And let's roll for the encounter. We rolled a 10. That's greater than 7, so we definitely have an encounter. So we've got another character event, so let's go back to the adventure and hit another character. Hopefully. We've got a 1 this time. So let's close the businessman, and let's go to our one character. Mercenaries! Why are we encountering mercenaries? Am I in the right timeline? Yes. Why are there mercenaries in New York? Who knows? Encounter a tough group of them. There's a leader, and then there's a number of people with him. And let's roll 1d6 plus 1. Come on, I know you can load. Oh well, let's do it again. 2. So there's a leader, and there's 3 of them here. Okay. Well, I am a little stumped, and it is 2:28 a.m. for me, and I should really get to sleep. But I'd like to know what you think we should do. Do you think we should talk to them and risk getting attacked anyways? Do you think we should run away? Do you think we should fight? Surrender? Surrender's usually not a great option. I hate surrendering, don't you? And hide with the option of following them as an action next turn with those possibilities. Now, the thing about running and thief is that they don't work like the other traits. You roll running separately for each character, good thing they can both run, and you roll thief separately for each character. Good thing that, only the doctor has thief. Tallulah does not have thief. So if we go with thieving, we run the risk of splitting up, and then Tallulah has to deal with the mercenaries on her own. That doesn't sound like a great idea either. Anyways, what do you think we should do? Tell me in the comments below, and I will collate between the YouTube comments and the Board Game Geek comments and see what y'all think. Thank you very much. This is Solo Boarding signing off for our first part of the Doctor Who Solitaire story game playthrough.